Hey, okay, I just wanted to answer those few questions that you had, and I want to send you an answer quickly because I was away yesterday, so I'm a little behind anyway. If I could have caught you on the phone, I could have talked you through this. Also, don't forget that we have an online tutor, and you can contact her by emailing tutor@norquest.ca. Just let her know a time that works for you during the day if you have any, and she can meet you online and explain things like this to you. If you are close to Norquest, we have face-to-face student tutors you can come and see as well. But the reason I want to talk to you is because the questions you specifically asked have to do with factorial notation, and because the way you asked them, it made me realize that maybe you're not understanding the concept of what factorial notation is. So factorial notation, first of all, looks like an exclamation point. And if you ever see it after a number, it means, so let's say 3 factorial. What it means is to multiply that number and every number previously that came before it until you get down to 1. So by that I mean 3 factorial is 3 times 2 times 1. Or 5 factorial would be 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And you just always continue down to 1. You can see why it saves some space to write factorial instead of writing out all the multiplication, everything that you're going to multiply. But some of the questions you were asking me in your book have to do with unknown numbers, like let's say x factorial. I don't know what x is, but if I were to work all the way down to 1, it would be x, whatever the number is, multiplied by the number that comes before x. We usually call that x minus 1. Just like 5 and 4, so 5 minus 1 is the previous number. Two numbers before that would be the first number minus 2, and so on and so on. I don't know how big x is, so I don't know how many times I have to do this, but I'm going to continue doing it. So I go dot, 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 continue doing this until I get to the number 1. So for your questions on page 77, number 2C, express as a single factorial notation. I had n plus 2, so some number plus 2, some number plus 1. So you can see it's already going in descending order, times some number minus 1, dot, 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 all the way until I get down to 1. So really they have an expanded form of factorial notation like any one of these would be. So to write it as a single factorial just means to take the highest number, the number you started with, and put the factorial symbol after it, which means start with your number and multiply down all the way to 1. So they were just going from expanded notation to simplified notation. Now you asked a question about 3C as well. So let's have a look there. Now this one says express as a quotient. Now, I don't know if there's an example here, but sometimes when you're doing a factorial notation, if you have one in the numerator and one in the denominator, you could leave it like that, but notice what happens when I expand it. So 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, all the way divided by 3 times 2 times 1. Some numbers get repeated, so actually I could save myself some work by simplifying it and canceling out the repeats. So 5 factorial would be the same, 5 factorial divided by 3 factorial would just be the same as saying 5 times 4, which is 20. Now in question 3C, they're getting to that because look what they've given you. They've said n plus 2 times n plus 1 times n. So if you're having a difficult time understanding what this means some number and the number bigger than it and the number 2 times it. So that might be 5, 6, 7, or it could be 4, 5, 6. It could be 100, 101, 102. It's just three numbers that come in order. But you notice there's no dot 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 3, 2, 1 this time, right? So it just ends at the n. That means there must have been some kind of division that happened here so that everything under n got cancelled out. So what they're wondering is what division did happen in order to eliminate everything that should come after this n, the n minus 1, n minus 2, n minus 3, dot dot dot, all the way to 3, 2, 1. I'm just going to go back a screen because we had this. See how we had that before? So in this particular question, they're saying, what did this number get divided by in order to eliminate all of this stuff? Well, just quite simply, I'm going to put a denominator here, and I'm going to say, well, everything in red has been eliminated. So n minus 1, n minus 2, n minus 3, all of this stuff must have existed in the denominator in order to cancel it out. So there's no need to write it in such an expanded form that n minus 1, n minus 2, n minus 3. That's really just n minus 1 factorial. That must have been in the denominator. And then just very similarly to 2c, the previous one you asked me, how do I write n plus 2 in factorial notation? Just like this. So really I had n plus 2 factorial. That must have been my numerator, and the denominator must have been n minus 1 factorial. Now, while we weren't looking, somebody came along and they expanded it, and they canceled out anything that was repeated, so that they were left with just n plus 2 times n plus 1 times n. So I know you're struggling with this. I think it has to do with the theory of factorial notation. You might want to go back and look through the class examples and read the blurb on page 74 about what factorial notation is. And then, so 4D, just solve it in your calculator. So use a calculator to determine the exact value. Now, an exact value means a fraction, not a decimal. So 25 factorial divided by 21 factorial multiplied by 7 factorial over 11 factorial. Okay, so let me just pull over my calculator. So I'm going to enter it exactly as I see here. So I open up a bracket. Now you could simplify this if you want. It's 25 factorial over 21 factorial, and we just saw that you could save yourself some work on the factorials by calling this 25 times 24, 23, 22, 21 factorial, and seeing what cancels out there. So you can do that. I'm going to assume that you didn't see that and we're just entering it straight in our calculator. So 25, now my factorial key is, let me think, where is it? There we go. Okay, so let me show you where I found it. The factorial key is under your math button, and then you move over to probability. So you can move 3 times to the right, or I just like to go to the left 1 time. And there it is, number 4 there, factorial. 25 factorial divided by 21 factorial, close my brackets, multiplied by 7 factorial divided by 11 factorial. Now I'm going to get a decimal answer, and they said an exact value, which means no decimals. So your calculator can convert back to a fraction by hitting your math key again. And the first option is to convert to a fraction. So just math, enter, enter. There's your answer. 115 over 3. Okay, so have a look through that. It seems to me like you maybe don't weren't using a TI-83 or 84, maybe just didn't know where your factorial key was. So hopefully I was able to show you that. And maybe review the concept of what factorial notation means. Really means taking any whole number and multiplying it by every previous number to it until you get down to the number 1.